joy of introducing Anson. So I wanted to just, take a few moments and introduce who he is and what we do. Obviously, I'm kind of the monotonous one, and he's the exciting, engaging one, so you won't have to listen to me for that long. But, there's engineers in every field, right? There's a mechanical engineer, there's an electrical engineer. I look around the room, I see a lot of people that are experts in their field, right? And sales is its own field. And Anson is an expert in the sales field, and that's really what he's going to be talking about, and that's one of our main competencies that we have. I've known Anson for about 10 years, and when things lined up for us to work together, we jumped at the opportunity, and it's been very rewarding for me. I learn a lot from him. He's a close friend, and he's someone that I trust and I care for deeply. He's an amazing person, so I'm really looking forward to this next 10 or 15 minutes. So, Anson.
Clicker. Here's a clicker. Thanks, Jacob. That is probably the nicest thing that anyone's ever said about me, and it's probably that probably begins and ends here. My life story, the nicest thing that ever happened is at the Accent Coach Business Growth Club in West Palm Beach. So, are we on the? No? Okay, that's all right. So, Jacob did a great job of kind of laying the groundwork of what we do as a company, and in the sense that our business is sales. I also think that that's probably the only time that anyone will ever refer to me and the word engineer in the same sentence. Imprint is something that was born out of necessity. So I have always been involved in sales. I moved to Miami from Iowa and got involved in, I'm ashamed to admit it, but I was in managed print, if anyone knows what that is, for the first few years in South Florida. So I got kicked out of every single building in Brickell, right, in downtown Miami. In fact, Fort Lauderdale, and even this far up, knocking on doors and trying to sell copiers, right? And I went from that to software sales to a couple others, and then in MSPs. And I eventually started my own IT company that I thought I could just kind of sell my way into having a business. And I quickly found out that IT is not for the faint of heart, and I wasn't that good at it. And the only way that I could grow was to build out a sales floor. I wasn't going to get it through referrals. And so we built out a sales floor in Miami Lakes. And I had to partner with other IT companies again, because I'm not an IT guy and had no business starting a company like that. And those guys asked what you were doing to grow, right? Because Jacob mentioned a lot of people are engineers. A lot of people are experts at the widget, right? They're experts at their craft. They're very knowledgeable. Not everyone's great at the go-to-market, right? And so these guys asked us, how are you getting market penetration? How are you getting out in front of people? How are you having conversations with these decision makers that's allowing you to grow? And I pulled back the covers on it, right? Because they were helping me out. I wanted to help them out. And they said, could we outsource our top of the funnel business development to you, right? And I said, I don't know, let's try it. And so we tried it with one IT company. They referred us to another, and to another. And before long, we had our own company inside a company, right? And I quickly found out, right? And I got with Jacob, who is my Joe, right? And Jacob is the man behind the scenes. And I got with him, and we put together a business plan, and we created this little business. And I found out that I was much better at sales and business development than I ever would be at IT. And so this is kind of our passion. This is where we've grown to, and that is the coming to fruition story of Imprint and what we do. And so I guess as far as this presentation goes, is I'd like to talk about, so there's a lot of companies that do what we do. And there's a lot of companies and people that are great at the widget, when they think of go-to-market, they kind of lump it all together, right? They lump sales and marketing and business development all kind of together, and like, we need to figure out how to do lead gen, and we need new customers. And then I'm going to be so great at my widget that everyone's just going to buy from me, right? And so I think my time would be best used to describe what a business development company is. right? Some people call them SDR companies. Some people call them BDR companies, sales development representative, business development representatives. But what it is a company that does these things, okay? So it is a company that outlines your client avatar. At Imprint, we call it your ICP, right? Your ideal customer profile, right? And for every business and industry, it's different, but that could be based on things like ARR, that can be based on things like geolocale, that can be based on things like industry specific, right? We work with some companies that only work with architects. We work with some companies that only do this, et cetera, et cetera. So we outline that avatar because you can't get anywhere unless you know where you're going, right? And so you got to outline that. We do that first, and then we break through obscurity. So we've invested heavily in data scrubbing processes. We've invested heavily. And so your SDR company, or if you were to look at biz dev as a service, they should be doing these things. These are the things that they should offer you. So they should break through obscurity for you, right? All of you are probably really amazing at your widget. All of you are probably really amazing engineers in what you offer. The only reason someone isn't your client yet is because they don't know about you. They haven't, and if they do know about you, they haven't had a conversation with you yet. And that's probably the most important thing that we offer, and that is access. So 70% of what we do is get you to the plate, right? We call the person that you want to talk to, and we convince them to have a conversation with you. Right? And so, we also, we talked about it in 5 ways, the street crossing thing. And so we get lumped in, like I mentioned, there's marketing, there's lead gen, there's business development, and we kind of get lumped in with concepts like lead gen, right? And we don't view ourselves like telemarketer is a dirty word where we're from, right? And so we don't say that. And we don't necessarily like lead gen. Me and Jacob both own businesses. I would go to like an Angie's List or a Buyer Zone, and I can buy, $1,000 worth of 500 leads in the morning and then work those leads. And 5 other companies do the same thing as me has been given those leads. That is a lead gen company. It's not something that we do, and it's not something a business development company should do for you, right? And so, biz dev is top of the funnel development. It's putting you in conversations that you can begin a courtship with. Everybody likes to date before they marry, right? And oftentimes, if you're selling big ticket items, you're selling relationships, you're selling something that might not be true today, but it's true tomorrow, right? You might not need me now, but eventually you will, and I need to be on your radar in order to do that. So we're beginning the courtship, and it creates predictable growth. So this is very busy, and it's Jacob's fault, and it's not mine, right?
Very close point.
Yeah. So, but ultimately, and this is not something that we do for our clients. And we have a few clients that we do this for, but it's not our flagship product. This is something that our clients do on their own. But and eventually what we produce and what a business development produce is discovery calls. We produce discovery calls. Okay. And so when you sit on a discovery call with a decision maker, there's 2 columns they fall into, receptive or non-receptive. And Arif would call it, he's non-receptive, sir. He's a high D and a high S or whatever. DISC would call it something else. In our world, we call it receptive or non-receptive. And so non-receptives, if you're beginning to have a discovery call with them and you make a joke about, their favorite sports team or something like that you see on the wall behind, and they just kind of nod and smile, then you need to move on, right? And you need to move to the point. And the point is that they have a pain and you have a solution that can solve that pain. And if you get to a place where you realize they do not have that pain and your solution cannot solve anything for them, everybody needs to stop and get done with the conversation and make everyone's lives easier. But in a non-receptive situation, even though it seems like he's not very excited about what you have to say, those guys play their cards close to their chest. They're waiting for you to say something that's going to allow them to be vulnerable to you and talk about the pain they have. So we're going to ask, and this is where we implement things, and this would be, again, on your side, I recommend gap selling. I recommend spin selling. I recommend a lot of things, a lot of research around that. You could talk to me after if you want to know more. But that's where you move into your sales process of asking pain points and then hopefully shoring it up against the solution that you offer, right? And then we would move through the process of that discovery call, current state, future state, move it to a sales engineer, next steps, etc. Receptive, Receptive's easier, always a nicer feel. We sit on that discovery call. They're interested in talking to us. They're engaging, right? A lot of times organizations, depending on your service and the people you're talking to, they pay people to be receptive. Procurement management, office vendors right there. Like some office administrators just like to break from their day and will entertain a vendor conversation, and you're sitting there spinning your wheels. So we need to get and uncover if there's a pain or not and if there's a fit or not, right? And so if they're just receptive and there's no need there, great. Really appreciate their time. Let's let them have our business card. Let's move them to a drip campaign. Again, drip campaign, not necessarily a business development company thing. It's a marketing thing, right? It's a marketing company thing. Organizations that make much more money than my company, and probably more than a lot of companies in here, have both marketing and sales. It's not one or the other, right? And so a drip campaign is a great asset. That agency is a great place to go to talk about that. We work with them inside of other clients that use a reef. So drip campaign is somewhere you would move out in those situations, keep them on the back burner until it's time. Receptive has a problem. You can talk about their kids. You can talk about their sports teams. You can talk about the weather, right? When they're engaging you. That's an okay place to start, right? If they're receptive and they're engaging and you move right to the pain and right down to business too fast, they'll get turned off by it, right? You're too salesy, you're too sharky, you're too monotone. So you can be receptive. You can then move to the pain points, and then you can move to the value prop next steps. So our offer is I love being a part of things. So I was invited to be a part of the Reef Show by Input Output, right? And I love those guys. They're a great security firm, and they're doing exciting things. And I was involved, and I was excited to be friends and partners with them. I'm excited to be in this room with people that are interested in growing their businesses, their lives, and their careers. I just think that energy begets energy. And so I'd love to do business with people that are interested in doing business that way. And so as an offer to anyone involved in the Growth Club, we have an implementation fee to spin up your pipeline setup, all the things that go into building out your client avatar, any of the talk tracks. We do customized talk tracks that we build out, and we educate our teams and our team leads and the sales reps that would work on your behalf. We would wipe that implementation fee. We also work with people, anybody that's done sales, in sales marketing, understands that, good things take time. We ask for a 90-day commitment from anybody that signs up with us. But if there's anyone in Growth Club that's interested in talking to us about our services, we'll waive the 90-day commitment fee as just you really shouldn't talk to us unless you're willing to do it, because nothing's you need to see the value in 90 days. But I would do that as a way of standing on our merits and saying that we're willing to put our money where our mouth is. You don't feel comfortable, you can walk away after 30 days. So we'd waive the implementation and we would waive the 90-day commitment. So I really appreciate the time that you guys, is there one more? Okay, thanks. Thanks, Jacob. No? Oh, there it is. Thanks. So I really appreciate you guys listening to me today. I appreciate the energy that you all bring. So thanks.